GM, everybody. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Lisbon, in Portugal, and today is Friday, the 17th of January. Let's get straight into those Bitcoin charts. And as you can see, we are seeing a breakout currently on Bitcoin. So far today, we have now cleared this descending trend line. So Bitcoin flexing its muscles here, showing major strength, sort of breaking out, and we are coming right into resistance around 102 to 102,500 here. So we are currently well within that resistance area. We might expect a slight pullback here, but I do think we likely go on higher, probably to the top side of this sort of resistance zone that I've put here, probably coming up to 103,500, maybe 104,000. I'll get into why in just a second, but you can see here, just on the 4 hour, we're looking strong. Obviously, we had the sell-off at yesterday's open. This was an area I spoke about. There'd been some liquidity down to 97,500. We came down, we grabbed that, we retested our 200 4-hour MA, which I also talked about on the stream yesterday. And this certainly gave me a good entry to add to some Bitcoin longs and Ethereum long positions, as well as a few altcoins. So really happy with that move we got yesterday. And like I say, we're coming into major resistance here. I think this is probably, well, this is undoubtedly the big resistance before we come up to our all-time highs above 108,000. This sort of zone I've drawn in here. And in terms of looking at whether we go a bit higher, this is really the main reason why I think we do probably trend a bit higher here. We've got all of this liquidity sat here. Obviously, this is the liquidation heat map. So this is where traders currently get liquidated on short positions, and there's a lot coming in just above price currently, up to around sort of 103 to 103,500. Obviously, that would tie in nicely with coming up and touching the upper end of this resistance zone. We've also got the 786 coming in at 104,000. So if Bitcoin wanted to take that liquidity out and flush a bit higher, 104,000, 103.5 to 104,000 looks like a very likely target. And potentially that's a move we see happen over the course of today. And from there, potentially we get some consolidation within this resistance band. And maybe we, from there put in a bit of a pullback. But it's difficult to see us getting a significant pullback ahead of the inauguration now. Obviously, we've got the Donald Trump crypto ball tonight. So Donald Trump obviously seems to be backing up a lot of what he said about being your crypto president, our crypto president. And this is great to see. He seems to be following through with a lot of the promises that he made to actually support crypto in the US. Obviously, he wants US to be a global leader for innovation, cryptocurrency, and AI. And he seems to be taking this promise and this obligation and commitment to crypto holders very seriously, which is really good to see. And I think without a doubt, this is going to be partly responsible for the reason that we have been so bullish. Obviously, the announcement for the crypto ball really came out earlier on in the week when we got this reversal. And then there's been further talks about Donald Trump looking to come out with executive orders on his first day. So obviously this story that we had talked about already, Trump to sign executive orders on his first day if it wants to load up. Yes, taking its time, but here we go. Trump to sign executive orders on day one. So very sort of buoyant market right now. We have seen further ETF flows, positive ETF flows coming in for the last couple of days. Some big numbers here. BlackRock with a huge number yesterday, over 527 million has gone into IBIT. So the BlackRock ETF, really strong inflows. And like we've said, we get these days where we have these outflows, 200 million, 284 million, 149 million, and then we get 755 million in one day, and that totally eclipses these 3 days of outflows in one day. We've had another 626 million yesterday. If we look back prior to that, again, we get 242 of outflows or 568 of outflows, obviously a big outflow day, but then we've been getting like massive inflow days, 978 million of inflows, just completely eclipsing the outflows that we're getting. So, it's really, I mean, the average here, 145 million per day, and obviously the total 37,000 that is. So that's in millions as well. So 37,000 million, like it's huge. It's huge is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, it's just obviously massive inflows. Obviously, 37,000 million, that is 37 billion, right? So massive inflows into the ETFs, and they continue to just gobble up all the supply of Bitcoin. So, I mean, it's very hard to get too bearish on this market right now. And look, to be honest with you, let's go back to our path and what we talked about yesterday. Obviously, I'm happy that we did actually make an adjustment to this yesterday, because obviously previously we had us coming into the resistance here around about 99, 100, rejecting, coming down lower. But I did say I just do not see this market turning around. This market is proving to be stronger than expected. And like I say, this is my sort of default scenario. We probably come up here to, like I say, around 105,000, start to maybe consolidate. Inauguration happens early next week. Maybe that's a bit of a sell the news event. Obviously, we're not expecting the US government to just rush out and start buying up, sort of millions and millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin on day one. So obviously, talks of a Bitcoin strategic reserve do probably send us higher. But whilst the rumors being floated out there, I think this is the most bullish thing. Whilst people are talking about the Bitcoin strategic reserve, whilst it's in the news, whilst it's in the headlines, it acts as obviously a bullish factor which will continue to run on and on and on. And Bitcoin, I think, until we get a sort of solid announcement, which probably does cause some sort of spike in the price of Bitcoin and some sort of blow off move, until we actually see that, it's most likely that Bitcoin just continues to sort of grind up here. And like I say, I'm expecting maybe some sort of retracement or some sort of consolidation after the inauguration next week. And then likely we see further upsides. And like I've said, I'm expecting Bitcoin to come up to make new all-time highs at some point in February. Maybe it does happen sooner than that if something really major happens and some major announcement comes out on Trump's first or second day. Absolutely, of course, we could see this move happen a lot sooner. But it's very difficult to get bearish here. Like I say, any move down, I see potentially going as low as, I think we could come down to the mid 90s, 95, 96,000. I think would be really good. Maybe sort of clearing out or sweeping under the low of yesterday. But look, I think that could very much not get that deep. Of course, we could just come into the high 90s if the market is that bullish, and a lot of people for waiting for lower prices get front run. This is why I have been positioning in more yesterday, because this is absolutely not guaranteed that we're just going to see a very sharp sell off like this. Of course, usually that is what we see, but we're in a different phase of the market now to what we were back here when everything was consolidating, when things were slower, when the price action was a lot more methodical, when we were coming down, we were getting sort of more retests. I don't really think we have to see that, and certainly sort of previous bull markets, if we actually look at consolidations and we look at these types of sort of liquidation candles and liquidation moves, if we just go all the way back here, so obviously we're going to go back to, we want to go back to 2021 when we were last in a bull run, and we just want to look at some of the sort of capitulation moves we saw back there, and we should really compare it to early 2021. So, we can sort of see when we saw this price action, we did have a retest, in all fairness. So this was an example where a retest did happen. On this one here, this liquidation candle or this capitulation candle, the retest was nowhere to be seen. It came in quite a lot higher. If we actually measure that, uh, it was about sort of 7.8% higher from the actual low was the retest. So we didn't get much of a retest here as well. There was no retest of this low either. There was no retest of this low. So what I'm trying to say is we don't have to get this massive sort of retest in the price and a big move all the way back down to 91 to 92,000 to retest that low. It could be that this comes in higher if we just measure on what's about 7.8%, which is what we saw the higher low come in as at that example I just shared, then that is going to take us up to, that'll be close enough, around about 96,000. So potentially we do come down into the 96,000 area, 96,500. Yeah, let's leave it around about there. And potentially that is the retest we get. Of course, I think what would be more likely is actually we come down and we sort of wick below this trend line. With a lot of traders will be looking to long this trend line. We come below it, we catch that liquidity. We catch the liquidity obviously below yesterday's low. That would make a lot more sense to me, and potentially that takes us down to around about 96,000. And this happens after the inauguration at some point next week. Look, I think that's as as likely of a prediction as I can give you. And like I say, I think yeah, I think that is definitely my sort of you know sort of best guess in terms of what the path's going to be like. So let's see what happens. I'm expecting something like this. Obviously, this move could be a lot more accelerated if something major happens or gets announced on Trump's first day. So that's Bitcoin covered. Let's take a look at some other of the other majors. Obviously, we've got Ethereum here. Ethereum, a bit of a disappointing day yesterday, ended up being quite a large red candle, but we are starting to tick up again today. I still think Ethereum probably comes up to around about 3,550, and then it will be decision time. Potentially, if this coincides with Bitcoin coming up to 103, 104,000, then maybe we see a bit of a sort of reaction there, maybe some consolidation. But I do think even with Bitcoin consolidating above 102,000, I do think it opens up the door then for Ethereum to potentially outperform a bit, break above its descending trend line, and then we'd be targeting initially moves up to around about 3,800 and above there. Obviously, this would be above Ethereum's longer term trend line, the trend line that connects the highs from the previous bull market to the current sort of all the early market highs on this bull market. So obviously, we've got the March highs here from last year. That is where that trend line comes into play. It has been significant. Obviously, we did get above it, but we haven't fully broken it yet. So I do expect that to be significant again. But of course, if we do get above that, then we are looking at Ethereum starting then to attack this 4K level. And look, I think that could all happen very quickly. Like I say, I think Bitcoin potentially could consolidate over the next few days. But as long as that consolidation is a bullish consolidation, I do think Ethereum could be getting itself up to 3,800, potentially 4,000 by the middle of next month, and a breakout likely from there going into late February and into March. I think Ethereum likely is getting close to all-time highs. So that's still, and this is one of my big trade ideas that I shared on my video last night, where I was talking about my trade ideas for President Trump coming into office. So we've got Ethereum looking good, Solana as well, starting to show strength, already breaking out of its descending trend line. So certainly Solana showing some relative strength compared to Ethereum here. What I really want to see now from Solana is for us to get above this 618, which is currently coming in at 228. Expect to see a little bit of resistance there, but like I say, any sort of bullish consolidation in Bitcoin probably allows some of these other majors to start to run up. And I would have thought that Solana will definitely get back to all-time highs, probably also by about sort of mid to late February, along with the rest of the market. Pepe as well, Pepe starting to push up. So this is what I talked about. Obviously, higher low, holding the major support level, which was the previous all-time high in Pepe. And Pepe, obviously, meme coins have been a little bit slower over the last few weeks, but I think Pepe will look to go again. It's got one more daily moving average to take out. That's its 50-day moving average, the red one here, and then above there, obviously, we're targeting this swing high. Really, the major level I want to see above is this 2290 level. This it was obviously previously resistance. It then flipped it into support. We could actually move that level up ever so slightly. I've got the wrong one there. Let's actually try and get that trend line. And I just want to do it on that candle body there. I think you can see what I'm trying to do. Really, we want to see a candle body close above that 2335 level. And then I think it will be off to the races. Obviously, Pepe will come back into its obviously higher range that it was in, and then likely sees a breakout from there. So really strong price action at the moment. Pepe looking to turn around. Well, let's look at Bitcoin dominance, check in with how the altcoin market is doing. And Bitcoin dominance currently trying to hang on to some of these moving averages. It's trying to hang on to the 50 MA right now. But I do think over the next few weeks, we will see Bitcoin dominance start to to come down more. And obviously, this will coincide, I think, with Ethereum starting to get a breakout, and then that will send the rest of the altcoins and likely see Bitcoin dominance trend all the way down to 53%. And from there, potentially over the next couple of months, I think Bitcoin dominance could come down to the 50% level. And if we just kind of zoom out and just look at what that would mean, that would be a pretty significant breakdown for us to come all the way down here. Potentially, this does happen very, very soon, in my opinion. If we look at where Bitcoin dominance topped out during the last cycle, it topped out right at the end of December. And then started January, we started to come down. We consolidated a bit at the end of January. And then we went on an absolutely sort of massive move for altcoins versus Bitcoin from it was March until about May. So when did that? It was the end of March. So it was pretty much 1 month or about 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks of just absolute altcoin outperformance into about May time. And look, this is probably a little bit too aggressive. Potentially, we come down here, sort of chop around a bit. Potentially, this is a little bit more sort of choppy. But I do think we likely see this move happen over the course of sort of maybe out until May. I'm going to leave that there for now. Obviously, this path has served us well so far, but at some point, I'll probably try and redraw this and make it a little bit more realistic in terms of the timing on this, because if it plays out anything, has any resemblance to how this played out last cycle, it's probable that we actually come down, we chop a bit more, and then maybe sort of mid to late February or even in March, we then see acceleration. So I'll tell you what, this path has served us so well. I'm tempted to leave it on there. So I think, yeah, probably we see something like this. Okay. And then we do sort of something like, where are we? Like, I think towards the end of Feb. Actually, yeah, I think end of February we start to break down, and maybe it's not as rapid as it was before, but maybe we do something like that. Maybe that is a little bit more realistic for what we're likely to do when it comes to Bitcoin dominance. I don't know for sure, but obviously this is sort of like the type of move I'm expecting that we'll see over the next few months in Bitcoin dominance. So there we go. Let's leave it at that. So with all of that said, I just wanted to touch very quickly on altcoins again. And again, give me some feedback. Do you want to see more altcoins on this video? Do you want to just me to stick to the majors, do let me know down below in the comments if you can. Obviously, we talked about AI16Z yesterday and potentially coming into a buy zone around this yellow box. So we're into that box, this yellow golden box, whatever you want to call it. We're into that box right now. So, potentially we've whipped for it. Potentially we do go a bit lower, but with the rest of the market looking strong, I'm of the opinion that I expect this box probably to hold. Let's just go down to 4 hour. So yeah, we've literally closed in it. We've closed above it. We're coming back into it again. So yeah, I think this is obviously an important level for AI16Z. So if you want to get some exposure to the AI agent narrative, is literally on its 50% retracement as well. So that's exactly the type of retracement that a lot of traders are looking at, that they want to see a 50% discount to then get into a position or add to a position. So that's what I'm looking at too. So I like AI16Z as a buy here. Potentially we come down a bit more to the 618, but I really think this has a good chance of turning around here. Obviously, these things are very volatile. They can wick through. It can come a bit lower, could deviate this level and reclaim it. But yes, I like AI16Z here. What else did I talk about? I talked about Aptos as well. Aptos being a good buy. So if we just go on to the daily here, obviously I talked about if we come into this golden box, it would be an excellent buy opportunity. Obviously, we come into the 618 and we've come into the 200-day moving average, so providing strong support there. So Aptos looking good here. I expect Aptos to really get a move on very soon with the rest of the altcoin market. Apu as well, one of our favorite meme coins. It has broken out this descending trend line. Obviously, Pepe showing strength. We expect Apu to start to show some strength. 618 retracement as well, coming in, sort of moving average, sort of resist support too, getting back above all of its moving averages, breaking out of its descending trend line. I do think Apu makes a run higher very, very soon. Been looking at Beam as well. So Beam starting to pick up, obviously sort of coming down close to its 200-day moving average we talked about. And I like Beam as one of the blue chips for the gaming space. We've got a couple more memes we can look at that I like the look of. We've got Bonk here. So Bonk starting to tick up, looking for it to break out of its descending trend line. We've got Brett here. So Brett, similar kind of story for a lot of these meme coins, looking to get the breakout from its descending trend line. Quite a deep pullback on some of these memes. Brett coming all the way down to its 786, finding support now on its 200-day moving average, which it's managed to reclaim. So Brett looking really, really good here. I talked about ENA also on the Trump video I did yesterday. ENA really deep sort of pullback on what has been a really, really strong coin. ENA coming all the way down to its 50 retracement, which, like I say, I like to see this as a level to add to either trading positions or positions in bull markets. Obviously in bear markets it's completely different. In range bound markets it can be different, but when we're looking to obviously pick assets that are about to go into strong trends, then the 50% retracement tends to be a good level, and it has served very, very well so far. Obviously Athena has been relatively strong, only getting down to its 100-day moving average, not its 200-day moving average, and breaking back into this range here. So I would now expect Athena to run to the top of its range and then likely break out over the next few weeks and months. What else here? We've got Casper as well. Casper really starting to show strength now. So Casper is one that has been range bound. Apologies, bit of a messy chart here. Let's take off this Fibonacci retracement. And let's just look at the longer term one. So obviously looking at the longer term one, you can see it's approaching its 50% retracement. So the midpoint of its range. Obviously it's got resistance as well from the 200-day moving average. If Casper can get above this and flip this into support, this mid-range into support, get it back above the mid-range, then it likely runs on to retest the all-time high around about 20 cents and higher from there. MOG is another one that has been absolutely destroyed. It was above $4. It's come all the way down to its 200-day moving average. 618 Fibonacci retracement that it's trying to hold on to. So look, obviously MOG currently looking a little bit weaker compared to the rest of the market, but I do believe that it will turn around along with the rest of the meme coin space. That's why I'm interested in adding to it. So these ones I've highlighted are ones that I'm actively either adding to or interested in adding to over the next day or two. We've got near here, similar story, getting supported its 200-day moving average, which is obviously, it has deviated below, but it's got back above. Now it's looking to take out this descending trend line, which it seems to be doing right now. So that's really strong for near. Obviously, if near can get above this, then you'd be looking to either buy on the retest, or you'd be looking to really buy on the next sort of broader correction on near, providing it holds this structure and holds above both the 618 and the descending trend line. What else? Pendle here as well. So Pendle has come down below its 200-day moving average into its 618. So I really want to see this 200-day moving average reclaim, or a breakout of this descending trend line. So a little bit slower than some of the other ones we've looked at today as Pendle. So I still think there's an opportunity there to add to positions. Popcat has really started to pick up. So we bottomed out below 50 cents on Popcat. It's reclaiming the 786 now. What we want it to do, and this is coming up to a really big level here, we've got this 20-day moving average, plus we've got this ascending trend line, which was support, which is obviously now going to be resistance. So I want to see Popcat flip this trend line, flip this moving average, start to regain this trend line as support, and then push up higher from there, getting above this moving average cluster, getting back above the 618, and Popcat then should look good for a run back towards all-time highs. I really do not think the top is in for Popcat, and this is just an absolutely insane discount. Obviously, massive sort of 75% discount from the highs on Popcat. So definitely, if it gets above this trend line, you're going to have probably another opportunity. I would have thought probably another retest of that to actually take a position. So one to keep an eye on. We've got Sonic here. So previously Phantom. It's an interesting story about this. I actually initially bought the wrong Sonic. There's another Sonic EVM or Sonic virtual machine, or another Sonic token that has literally been listed on Binance a few days ago, just a couple of days before this one. And obviously with Phantom migrating to Sonic, and Bybit only had the only ticker they had, they didn't have this ticker, they didn't have S already listed. So I got into Sonic. It's crazy, absolutely crazy, but it's also trading around a similar price. It was in the 0.7 sort of dollar range, so it's like 72, 73 cents. So it's similar price to this actual contract. And yeah, obviously I've closed positions in that one. I've bought into positions in the S token, which is obviously the previously known as Phantom. So I do think, or I am expecting big things for Phantom, more from a fundamental perspective, and the fact they've got Andre Cornier and a really strong team there. And yeah, I was a big user of Phantom back in the day. I do think Sonic will attract a lot of attention and probably be a really strong L1 throughout the rest of this year in this bull market. So yes, positioned in a bit yesterday, waiting to see what happens here. Do we come off a bit more and down to this 0.72, or do we actually look to run higher? Obviously, if we're taking this, we don't obviously have an awful amount of data to go by here. But if we actually just look at the Fibonacci retracement, we can see so far we've come back and we've held the 382, which is a bullish fib retracement. Obviously, we could come down to the 0.5 at some point, which would be a stronger entry for me, even as low as this horizontal and closer to the 618. So these are all levels I'll be looking to pick some Phantom up if we get them. Turbo as well, another meme I'm bullish on here and holding its ascending trend line. So unlike some of the other memes that actually have lost their ascending trend lines, Turbo is holding its. It has bounced off really strongly from its 618. So showing some relative strength here, Turbo, as a meme. And yeah, obviously it ties in to the AI narrative as well. This is a chat GBT created meme coin, and I'd be looking for Turbo really to get above this 8.75 and start to run back to all-time highs over the next few weeks. And XAI, obviously I touched on yesterday, another gaming narrative, super beaten up. I'm seeing this one as a recovery play, and one that, certainly if gaming starts to get a run, I expect XAI to do really well. Some concerns I had around this coin when it was first launched was around the inflation, fairly high inflation. But if you just look at how far down we are from the all-time high. You're looking at about an 85% move down. I mean, this really, really got dumped, this token. And I think it runs back up. I'm not sure whether it goes all the way back to all-time highs, but obviously, if this market flips bullish, if it can get back above these highs here around 44 cents, then expect this to march on a lot higher. And yeah, it's another one to watch here. Obviously, in the short term, you want to see it regain this 786 and start to regain some of these moving averages. And the key level really to get above on XAI is going to be around about here. Let's just tie that up slightly. So it's really going to be this level here. We want to get above 0.26 and hold above 0.26. Then I think we take a run higher. And last but not least, we've got Cerebro. So this one is one I covered yesterday. Obviously, we pumped yesterday quite nicely up to 0.366. We've come all the way back down to 0.26. So from 36 to 26. So obviously these AI agent plays are very, very volatile, as you can tell. What I really want to see on Cerebro is for it to start to regain some of these fib levels. Really want to see it. I mean, there's not a lot of price history here. We can't really do too much with a chart like this. But yeah, you'd want to see it really sort of get back above the mid range, get back above these levels here. Obviously, that's a far way away. For me, as long as we hold these lows, if we continue to show some sort of positive price action here and get above this high. So yesterday's high, I think this market will really then start to move and send. So let's just draw that on there. That's 0.3673. So, closes above there. We should start to push on higher on Cerebro. And that's it. I'll probably go through these altcoins a little bit later on today, and I might choose a few different ones to cover tomorrow. If you have any requests for altcoins that you would like me to cover, then do let me know down below in the comments and I will add them onto the list. I know I got a few requests earlier on in the week, so I'll dig those charts out today and give some updates on those probably now on tomorrow's stream. Let's just look at the dollar then. So the dollar creeping up a little bit today, but we're seeing a few wicks forming. We're seeing a bit of selling interest. Like I say, if the dollar does break below this sort of 108.6 level, then I do expect it to run down probably to the 107, and then we'll have to reassess from there. But I'm thinking, and I've made it pretty clear over the last couple of days, and obviously on my video I did yesterday about Trump coming in, that I do think that the dollar, that the top for the dollar is likely either in or very, very close to being in. We're seeing yields starting to come down. We're seeing Fed chairs start to now talk about, there being more interest rate cuts. We've got Fed Chair Waller saying sort of 3 to 4 rate cuts yesterday. So yeah, let's see. Maybe the dollar does now start to price in, some of this stuff and start to cool off a bit. I'm thinking it might do. Stocks getting a bit of a bid today, catching a bid today, and really there's no change. Whilst we're sort of in this or below this trend line, then we're going to be ultimately waiting to see what the stock market does, whether it wants to come down and sort of retest these lows one more time, or whether it does push on higher and break through these descending trend lines. Obviously moves above these descending trend lines, then open up, moves all the way up to new all-time highs, which I do think will happen at some point very soon. S&P a little bit stronger than the Nasdaq, a bit closer to its descending trend line. Looks like it probably wants to test it today. So let's see if the S&P could get a breakout. Obviously, that should bode well for our Bitcoins and our cryptocurrencies as well. So just to summarize then, Bitcoin looking very strong today. I'm expecting Bitcoin could come a little bit higher to around sort of 103.5 to 104,000, based on the fact we've got a lot of liquidations sat just above these highs here. So let's see if we can get that move happening over the course of today. Obviously, Trump's got his crypto ball tonight. So I'm not sure. I doubt anybody is going to that. I've heard tickets are absolutely crazy for that. I heard, someone paid like $250,000 for one ticket. Apparently, there's tickets that have been sold for like $1 million per ticket to that crypto ball. So obviously, some very, very, sort of expensive people will be in attendance later. And yeah, that can only be a positive thing for the crypto market. Obviously, Trump's inauguration on Monday, so I'm not expecting any deeper pullbacks until that happens. Potentially, the next pullback could come after the inauguration at some point next week, but I'm not expecting that to go much lower than around about sort of 96, 97,000, maybe sweeping this trend line and then onwards and upwards from there. Obviously, we as we looked at before, we don't need to retest these lows. We don't need to come all the way down to 92,000, especially if the market is very, very bullish. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Like I say, any feedback in terms of the content of these streams around covering altcoins, please do let me know in the comments. Give me a like if you've enjoyed today's channel. Subscribe if not done so already. Have to keep on mentioning it. Obviously, we're trying to grow. We want to get to, into 1,000 subs, hopefully over the next couple of months. That's the target. So anything you can do to help me get there, guys, would be much appreciated. Have an amazing day wherever you are. And I will talk to you all again on the next one. GM, GM, GM.